We have a full slate of NFL action because this week, week 13 of the NFL season, is Thanksgiving week. We have games on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday and Monday. It is going to be nonstop NFL action. You're probably, hopefully, not working this week. You get to sit around, eat delicious food, watch football. The football on Thanksgiving has truly been amazing over the past couple of years. So I'm beyond excited. But regardless, you have a full slate. We're dealing with some injuries here. You got to nail the running back position. You have 2 more weeks to stamp your ticket to the fantasy playoffs. So, on today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast, we have the only running back rankings that will matter and that will hopefully, keyword hopefully, win you your matchup this week in fantasy football. My name is Sean Moran. I'm joined by my good friend, my fellow co host, and my fellow Noah Ball. I almost forgot the last thing, Aiden. I'm a little
Don't
rusty.
forget it. Don't forget
Almost
it.
a little rusty. Aiden Holler. Aiden, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm ready for the Thanksgiving weekend. You forgot to mention too, we've got our first ever Black Friday game. So Roger Goodell has us by the nads all weekend
We had it
long.
last year.
Was it last year?
The Jets played on Black Friday.
I thought this
last
was
year.
the inaugural one. Okay, so this is year 2. So yeah, the games the games aren't great, but it's going to be awesome. Rogers got us Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday
Sunday,
this week.
Monday. It's amazing.
Yeah, so he's got us. He's close to having us on Saturdays too. That normally starts around like week 15, maybe.
When the college season ends. Yeah, they get away with it. Yeah,
so
it's amazing.
I'm excited though, man. Two weeks until playoffs. If you play on Sleeper, they've got that lovely little countdown to really get your anxiety up. So I'm ready to rock, man. How you doing?
Good, man. I got 15 more days to compete. That's all that matters. You got 15 more days.
It's a privilege.
Hitting the waivers.
It's a privilege.
It's such a good time of the year because half your league's starting to check out, and all the running backs are starting to get hurt. And there's some Amir Abdullah gems out there if you're hunting for them. There's some Jeremy McNichols just chilling, waiting to get scooped up, man. So it's a good time of the year if you're a 0 RB bro. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You got to get ready to move in on those opportunities. So today's episode, pretty straightforward. I've gone ahead. I've ranked the top 44 running backs for week 13. Aiden's gone ahead. He's broken them into 5 tiers. Yeah, I've got 5 tiers here for Aiden's tier making methodology. I like his tiers already. I'm seeing some interesting longer tiers in tier 1. So I'm excited to get his thoughts on a couple guys here.
Yeah, expand on that one.
Tier 1. My rankings are pretty straightforward. I combine a bunch of different factors into how I look at these running backs week in and week out. So I look at the implied team total. So what is Vegas? Think about the offense the running back's playing in and where do they rank versus other teams on the slate. I take a look at expert consensus rankings over at Fantasy Pros. I try and compare myself to an expert list of, I think, like 60 plus fantasy experts to see where I rank versus their consensus. I take a look at their usage over the past month. Expected fantasy points per game is what I'll call it. I also look at the fantasy points per game output as well. I take a look at how efficient they've been with that usage. And then I go ahead and I take a look at the defenses they'll be facing up against and what they've been averaging to the running back position. I have a score I like to call RTM score, which is essentially a composite score that ranks all of those factors. The lower, the better, much like ranking somebody 1, right, in that system. And then I also have a projection. So I take a look and see basically based off their usage and the opponent that they're going up against, what I can see is like a potential projection. We're relatively new to the projection space. We'll tend to get better with that, but it just gives us a good idea if the RTM score is directionally accurate. Before we dive in, Aiden, I'm sure this is somebody's first time clicking on one of our videos. What should the good people at home do if they decided to give us a chance today?
Yeah, welcome to the program. How lucky of us that you found us on Thanksgiving weekend. You're probably hanging out with some family, hopefully, maybe some friends. And if you're just hanging out yourself, man, you're vibing, you're trying to learn, get an advantage this weekend going into playoffs. So just enjoy the show. We keep it pretty light, as Sean mentioned. We've got some data behind these rankings, but for the most part, like, we keep it pretty light. We're just going to kind of call it how it is, vibe checks here and there. We've got it tiered out, stamped in the video details below. So you can skip around. You can see who we've got along with Sean's Google Sheet as well. You can actually click directly in there and see what's going on. So just hang around, enjoy the show. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever feedback you so wish. But we're happy to have you. And yeah, enjoy the show.
Thanks for telling everybody what it's all about, Aiden.
That's what it's all about, really.
We appreciate it, man. I'm thankful for you, Aiden. And Keegan, we've got a co-host. We've had some people that have come in over the last month. There is a third member of RTM. He's just been
probably like, who is this guy? I hear there's a Jets fan, but I haven't seen him yet. No, he's there. Yeah. His move is almost completed. He's been migrating from California to Greenville, South Carolina. So we should get him back hopefully next week.
Yeah, he's been pretty busy guy. So
that's fair.
We miss him though. He's not off the hook. He has some bad takes he needs to air out before he comes back. All right. We're going to start things off with tier 1 here for week 13 running backs. We have running backs 1 through 8. That is a big tier that Aiden has made. I can't wait to see his thoughts on this. I have a sneaky suspicion about why there's 8 people in this tier, but we'll get to that. So I got running backs 1 through 8 again. Saquon, Barkley, Joe Mixon, Devin Achane, Bijan Robinson, Alvin Kamara, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Jacobs, and Chase Brown. A lot of high RTM scores right here in this tier, man.
Yep. Very high.
So if you've been rocking with us since early in the offseason, I was a pretty anti-Saquon Barkley pick at ADP. And what he did to me last week in a kind of a must-win matchup, I will never forget that. I'm very sorry, Saquon. I was wrong. You were right. I'm stupid. You're smart. If you've seen Happy Gilmore, that's I'm sorry, not Happy Gilmore. Yeah, Happy Gilmore. That's Happy Gilmore.
Right?
No,
yeah.
It's not.
Or is it Billy?
No, it's Billy Madison.
Yeah,
it's Billy Madison. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. You're right.
Sorry to the Sandman. Okay. Saquon's amazing. Not a nice person what he did to me, but just spectacular. Tough matchup against Baltimore this week, but I mean, who cares? Inversely, when we get to tier 2 and talk Derrick Henry, it's very much the same. Like, who cares? Like, these guys are incredible. I do think that Jalen Hurts will be forced to pass more. They just have more of a pass funnel, the Ravens do. But I don't see Saquon Barkley being impacted too much. And if anything, because Devonta Smith missed last week, it meant more targets to Saquon. He was more involved in the pass game. And I wouldn't be shocked if you saw more of that if Devonta Smith were to miss time in week 13. RB2, I've got Joe Mixon. This is a cake matchup against Jacksonville. This is about as good a spot that you'd want Joe Mixon in. Bounce back game here for the Texans. Achane only scored 20 fantasy points last week, but I think he scored all 20 in like the first 2.5 quarters, and they kind of just sat him down because that game got out of hand. So so you can run on Green Bay. Would not be shocked if he had a big game Thursday night. The Dolphins in kind of a must-win game, and I think Tua would refer to it as a narrative shifter. This is a team that's like soft, can't play in the cold. Tua's been balling. That defense Miami's got's been balling. I think this is a good spot if you got Dolphin players, and you'll have a belly full of turkey.
Fire 'em up.
Bijan Robinson, tough matchup, but he's post-bye. Dude's usage and production's been amazing over the past month. I like this spot for Bijan. Kamara, this is one of the few all green cure slates where his usage is top 3, his production's top 8. The Rams have been giving up points to running backs. I mean, Saquon did kind of just skew this. They'd actually been kind of a tougher matchup before Saquon. I will say they were 20th last week, and now they're this is a good spot for AK, but Taysom is lurking, man. Taysom is lurking, so keep that in mind.
Lurking's an understatement. Taysom is waiting right there in front of our faces at the goal line.
He's lurking into like taking base down, like between the 20s rush work too, man. Like
for sure.
So the Darren Rizzi, the head coach, has won 2 in a row. He looks like way better than Dennis Allen. Shocker. He seems pretty high on Taysom, so that's just something to keep in mind here for our Taysom truthers. I'm gonna have to Taysom Aiden this week. It's gonna be a good time. I got Josh Jacobs here again. This is a bad weather game. It's gonna be cold, freezing cold. Green Bay's pass rate has completely dropped off a cliff. Jacobs is just going to get the rock 25 times, potentially, in this game. And you can run on Miami. Miami's run defense has been more beatable than their pass defense. Jacobs is honestly one of my favorite plays on the entire slate this week. He might make the thumbnail. I'm that juiced about Jacobs. And then we got to get to Aiden's guy here. Because I know this is why he made this tier 8 running backs, is because he wanted to get Chase Brown here in the top tier. I will let you take the floor on Chase Brown, but you can also talk about any player that you want from tier 1.
Yeah, so I'll get to the bottom of the tier in a second. I think Joe Mixon's going to go nuts this week.
It's a good spot.
Came back down to earth last week. I think he finished with right around 10 points, but yeah, I think he goes absolutely nuclear in terms of the top 4 running backs that we've got here. Like, he by far has the best matchup. That Jacksonville defense is terrible. But the bottom 3 guys. So we typically cut tier 1 around 5 guys. This week I couldn't do it. So Monty's banged up, starting with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to touch the ball 20 times. Chicago's defense has been horrendous since the Hail Mary, like bottom 5 in pretty much every category, especially on the run. They're extremely beatable, but we're seeing them get beat pass catchers through the air as well. Josh Jacobs, like you mentioned, absolute running back 1 right now. He's scored over 20 points in 4 of his last 5 games. So like firmly could be like running back 1 on any given week. And then Chase Brown as well. I was like, if we're talking RB1s on any given week, like Chase Brown is kind of there right now. Since he took over, he's scored 26, 22, and 19 points as the running back 1 there, averaging like 6-7 targets a game, getting another 15, 20 carries. Like, the usage is bonkers. Khalil Herbert's
CMC
not even
usage.
sniffing the field right now. Yeah, it's CMC, Austin Eckler, whatever you want to call it. Like, if your running back is catching 5 balls for 50 yards, and then we're also getting another dozen plus carries, like, there's no reason why he can't be the running back 1 on any week. So sure, Pittsburgh's got a good defense, but given his usage and he's like firmly the only running back touching the ball right now. Like, maybe Khalil Herbert at some point gets worked in, especially out of the bye here. But
out of the bye, yeah.
Since he came in, I think he has 2 touches. So we'll see. I really like this top tier though. It's crazy. We've got Chase Brown ahead of Christian McCaffrey in the year 2024, but that's fantasy football, baby. So really electric top 8 here. I think like you're in such good company if you've got any of those guys.
Yeah, and we'll get to tier 2 here. But again, Josh Jacobs and Chase Brown are the 2 guys I'm highest on versus expert consensus rankings in tier 1 here. Up 5 spots on Jacobs, up 3 spots here on Chase Brown. Tier 2, running backs 9 through 15, Christian McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard, Breece Hall, Derrick Henry, Kyren Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker. So CMC has not been explosive. This offense has been a mess. The Niners are going nowhere. They are a joke. Okay, so I'll just get that out of the way. But I will say,
air
CMC,
that one out.
Top 13 usage. So the usage has been totally fine. Fantasy points per game, not great, but not. This is not like. It's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world by any means so far.
No.
Buffalo is the 3rd softest defense to running backs. They've just hemorrhaged points to running backs. The weather conditions in this matchup are going to be terrible.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I didn't know if you saw that. It's going to be like blizzarding.
Snow and wind. And I talk about this all the time. I'm beating a dead horse here, but I talk about wind, and 30-mile-per-hour winds are not good. However, this is a running back game. So bad rush defense against Christian McCaffrey could be a good bounce back spot. So I like CMC even in these weather conditions as just a pure runner. I'm really up on Chuba Hubbard this week. He just took the Kansas City Chiefs to the woodshed. Like, that's the best rush defense in the NFL. Bryce Young looks awesome. There's no reason to believe that Chuba Hubbard isn't a top 10 play rest of the season. I don't think they have any interest in using Jonathan Brooks unless they have to.
Which is
they're
annoying,
slow playing this entire season. And I kind of respect it, but because of that, I don't have Chuba shares, man. So like, I'm not out here bag defending Chuba. There's no reason to not have him as a top 10 play, in my opinion, against Tampa Bay this week. I would be shocked if Jonathan Brooks started to take his lunch at this point. It would be nonsensical, in my opinion. Breece Hall didn't practice today, randomly coming out of the bye with knee soreness.
Bizarre.
That's like that's a tank. We're tanking or shutting it down type vibes. Ulbrich sounded optimistic that he would play, but if Braylon Allen's out there, go pick him up. That's a smart move. Derrick Henry Tough matchup, doesn't matter. It's the king, man. He did not score a touchdown last week, though. The latter failed. He rushed for 150 yards and didn't score a TD.
We
you
were
made
so
it to
close.
week 12. You
We
made
were
it to
so
week 12,
fucking
man.
close. I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it.
Kyren Williams doesn't catch passes anywhere since Puka Nakuma's back, so his ceiling is very much capped. But this man could slap Sean McVay in the face and still keep his job at this point. So
it's dude, he put the ball on the ground twice last game and still saw 91% of the snaps. It's
I don't get it.
I continue to get into this argument with people. I'm like, we got to get Corin some touches. I think it would make Kyren better. Like, you look at Pittsburgh, you look at Atlanta, like you look at backfields that have two guys, and like a lot of times it works. Especially like Kyren's good. I don't think he's not a Saquon type talent. Like, he should not be 90%
he's
of the
a
touches,
grinder.
but
it is
what it is. Like,
grinder.
yeah, as long as McVay
receptions,
continues to give him 90 plus of the touches, like it doesn't matter. He's going to continue to grind out 15, 20 points.
Well, I don't think he's even hit 15 in a minute.
He hasn't hit 15 and he's since week 8, so 4 games in a row now. Even with a touchdown last week, he failed to get to 15 because he had 0 targets,
no receptions.
0.
This is a good week for Kyren, though. It's a good bounce back spot in New Orleans.
It's a good matchup.
So it's a good spot for them. JT, this is a good spot for JT. It's been pretty rough for JT over the past month. He looked great the immediate game after the ankle sprain, and then is looked terrible after he came back. So that offense is just weird, man. They're figuring it out, but this is a good spot against New England. So I do like JT this week. Kenneth Walker. It's been a few games since we've seen a K9 spike week, but the role's really solid. It's borderline RB1 usage. The production's been a little lagging. Their offensive line's just so bad. he gets hit behind the line, I think, on half his carries, and he's able to still make stuff work. He's still so good.
Fun.
He's so good. Fun. So like, but again, their offense is just I don't know. It's becoming the JSN offense, man. I keep trying to tell people, no one wants to listen to me. But it's the JSN offense.
It's like no one cares the JSN's the funnel now. No one cares.
No one cares that JSN's catching screens and breaking 50-yard runs off these screens. Like, no one's talking about it. We'll save the JSN grandstanding for the next episode for wide receivers. But man, what do you think about tier 2? Anyone catching your eye?
I don't know. I feel more about the next year than I do a lot of guys here. I think there's some tough matchups, some tough weather. Like Breece Hall, red flag. McCaffrey hasn't quite looked like himself. Plus the snow, like that's a bit of a red flag to me. Derrick Henry, probably his best matchup so far. I think the Chargers were actually just tougher, but man, Philly's going to be tough for him. So it's like, yeah, dude, I think Chuba Hubbard gets me the most excited out of this tier. He played 90+% of the snaps again with, John Brooks. That offense is like they're in like a top 10 offense right now. Like the last 2 weeks, they've looked night and day difference. Bryce Young is like showing what we saw at Alabama, like pretty exciting there. So like, I can't believe it. Yeah, Chuba's probably my favorite guy in this tier going into week 13 here.
I just feel like JT is due. So I like JT this week.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel that.
Go.
I feel that. Tier 3 here, running back 16 to 26. James Cook, Bucky Irving, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, Rachaad White, Rhamondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, James Conner, DeAndre Swift. So James Cook, San Francisco has a soft front 7. They could come out and just lay an egg and show zero heart and zero effort, and they could get tossed around in the snow on primetime. Wouldn't be shocked. So with that in mind, James Cook could have a big game. Bucky Irving is going ham right now.
He's about to go nuts again. I think he's about to go nuts again.
Is the usage going to get better, though? He's still only in the RB28 in usage. Like, if he starts to see his usage go up, man, he's going to be league winner. I don't like to use that word too often, but like, if
last
all of a sudden
week was
snaps
up to a degree, like maybe not the snaps, but the touches.
What about like 70% snaps?
I'd love
that. He'd go insane.
Yeah, he had 18 touches last week. He had 6 fucking catches, dude. That was I got Buckied pretty hard. I left
him on the bench in a league. I haven't got him in 2, and I left him on the bench in 1 and lost because of it.
I was
brutal.
Not safe.
Aaron Jones, good start. Have no idea what his usage is going to be week to week. So obviously you're going to play Aaron
he's
Jones.
Playing like 80%. It's like you said, man. It's the hot tub time machine. He's still doing it. Like it's going to happen. Yeah, he had 79% of the snaps
after having season
touches.
low,
and fumbled at the one. Fumbled at the one. They fucking were still shoveling him touches.
It's KOC, baby. That's why I think the Chase Brown noise where Zach Taylor's like, oh, we need to spell Chase Brown. I think it's BS, dude. They're just going to keep riding Chase Brown.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Because Khalil Herbert seems like NFL coaches don't love him. Like, we love him, but
yeah, I don't know.
To not get PT, so I don't
know what the deal is.
Monty, so he's banged up, but this is a revenge game for David Montgomery on Turkey Day, and he's like the leader of the team, so wouldn't be shocked if they fed David Montgomery. Wouldn't be surprised, but we'll see. They have bigger plans. They have bigger trying to win the Super Bowl, so hopefully they don't.
He's already had like 2 of them too, so it's like he already had 2 last year.
All right. Rachaad White, I've got it 21. I'm sorry, no, I got Kareem Hunt at 20. Pacheco's likely playing. So
he is. They actually activated him this morning.
Yeah, so I think it's barring a setback, he's going to play. So just keep that in mind.
Yep.
I still like Hunt. I still think Hunt's going to see some love. I still think you can play Hunt. Now, if it becomes pretty clear that you can't, we'll learn in week 14, but we don't know that yet. So I still think Hunt's an okay play. Rachaad White, clear RB2 in this offense, but he still has a super valuable role. And Rachaad looks good in more of a split backfield. So I do think you can feel comfortable playing Rachaad White. Rhamondre Stevenson, this is a great spot for Rhamondre against Indianapolis. They're getting smoked by running backs right now, and the usage is good. If Tyjae does not play, Tony Pollard is a must start. That's basically going to be tattooed on my body at this point. Like if they're forced to just go to Tony, they will. They're not going to play the other guy. But if they have Tyjae, they'll split it because they want to play Tyjae. Like Rico Dowdle this week, it's a clear RB1 in a bad offense, but this offense gets plays up, and it's been scoring points with Cooper Rush. So it could have been worse, honestly. I'm kind of happy they didn't go with Trey Lance because this offense is functional with Cooper Rush. James Conner is playing against a Minnesota pass funnel. So Minnesota's really good at stopping the run. Tough to throw on him. I mean, tough to run on him, easy to throw on him. So he's going to have to hit home as a receiver, which he has, but it's just went a little bit lower on him this week.
Oh.
And then DeAndre Swift. It's a revenge game for him against the Lions.
We've got a couple. Yeah, we have the
double revenge.
Yeah, the revenge game in the same game. That's fun.
RB25 production, RB27 usage. He's my RB26. Tough matchup, but just kind of
pretty fair where he is.
Yeah, that's probably where I'd rank him. Tier 3 thoughts before we get to tier 4.
Really excited for the Bucky encore. We've been saying for weeks that's the best running back in that backfield. Let's consolidate that down to Bucky and Rachaad and kind of let them go to work. So I'd way rather start Bucky than Rachaad at this point. I know they're both going to play. Good luck starting Kareem Hunt. It's officially uncomfortable with Isaiah Pacheco back. I don't know how much he's going to play, but you're definitely gambling. You're definitely gambling with him this week, in my opinion. And then what was the last one? Tony Pollard. I hope he gets the lion's share of touches again. He's actually pacing for his best rushing yardage output in his career. So been really fun to watch his resurgence. Awesome game last week against Houston. Washington rush defense is about middle of the pack. So no Tajay. I'd fire him up pretty confidently as a high RB2.
I'm with you, man. Okay, so tier 4 running backs 27 through 35. Najee Harris, Tyrone, Tracy, Jaylen Warren, Gus Edwards, Javonte Williams, Nick Chubb, Jeremy McNichols, Justice Hill, Amir Abdullah. Najee is trending down. Yeah, Najee's trending down. He has better usage than Jaylen Warren, but Jaylen Warren's just looked flat out better than Najee. Now, Najee's dealing with an ankle injury. Last played on Thursday. Maybe the ankle injury heals up. I don't know. Cincinnati's had a pretty good rush defense, so he's a risky start. I think Tracy's a super risky start. Even though Dallas has gotten absolutely destroyed by running backs this year, Tracy's got a clear fumbling issue. And his usage and production is still low-end RB2, but everyone treats him as a high-end RB2, low-end RB1. Definitely a good player. I like Tyrone. You and I both like Tyrone Tracy, but he's my RB28. I just, even in a good matchup, I'm skeptical right now of Tracy. I played him last week over Bucky, and he burned me.
That's a face plant. Yeah, that's a face plant.
Yeah, even though
it was a good matchup though.
Tracy'd been playing well. He burned me.
I don't think we expected
plays...
Tommy DeVito to be that ass. So I think at least we got a bump with Drew Lock this week.
Yeah, definitely variance goes up in either direction because Drew Lock's kind of a turnover machine, but he also makes shit happen. So
it's like
I definitely think that's a little bit. Yeah, definitely. Mentioned Jaylen Warren, but he's one of my favorite like RB2 with upsides right now in fantasy. If something were to happen to Najee, this guy'd be in the Chase Brown territory, in my opinion. Gus Bus. Atlanta's been hard on running backs, but Gus is going to see
ton of touches.
15 touches?
Yeah.
They don't really want to get Kamani Vidal involved. Gus will not be on the field to catch passes, though, so he's going to be a little bit TD dependent, in my opinion. But, man, Chargers offense has played pretty well. You got to get him in there.
Yep.
Javonte Williams, who knows? All I know is that past month he's an RB3. Yeah, he's an RB3 in a tough rush matchup, so look elsewhere. Nick Chubb, not a super confident start, but they're gonna give Chubb 15 carries. Like they're all in on Chubb. They love Chubb.
He clearly has the goal line rule. No one else is touching the ball inside the 5.
Yep. So, but they have I think the lowest implied team total. So that's rough.
No,
I think the second lowest. Yeah,
they're low behind it.
Yeah, it's
Giants and the Raiders.
Rough. Jeremy McNichols. So Brian Robinson practiced today. Austin Eckler did not. I was a little surprised that B-Rob got a practice in.
I thought it was going to be the opposite.
Well, Eckler got a concussion.
Yeah, but I thought he might have like the B-Rob, like twisting injury. What is it, his ankle or knee?
Looked really bad. It looked like he blew his leg out.
Same. I was like, oh, he's done. It's his ankle.
B-Rob is a man of steel, as we know.
He's tough as fuck.
B-Rob's no joke, man. So, like, when he was missing games with that hamstring or knee injury, I was like, he must be so injured if he actually missed time. We'll see. I do like McNichols, though. McNichols has looked good in relief, and I don't know. Tennessee's numbers are good technically against the run, but that's a team that I don't know. It's hard. That defense is kind of really good on paper, but you can still score on them. So it's kind of hard to project week in, week out. Justice Hill is one of my favorite backup running backs in the NFL right now. If you start him, you're praying for receptions or like a big play or maybe a touchdown, but he's like still part of the Ravens offense. So you could do worse than Justice Hill. And then Amir Abdullah was an awesome streamer. Shout out Amir Abdullah. Sounds like Alexander Madison's practicing, so we shall see. But Abdullah looked pretty good as a receiver. Aiden O'Connell's back. I don't know. I'd rather not play the Abdullah game again this week.
Probably not.
Yeah, you got lucky last week. Pretty rough to run it back. Thoughts on tier 4 before we get to tier 5?
Yeah, I think just quick one. I think in terms of the Pittsburgh backfield at this point, like I think I prefer Warren. Najee just doesn't look very good lately, and maybe it has to do with the injury. I don't know what it is. Like we know he's slow to start with, but like the fact that like he's not even a lock for the goal line touches is concerning, given that we know Warren is more active in the passing game. If Najee doesn't have the goal line work, then it's like, well, then what can we count on for sure other than like a dozen carries somewhere in the field? So I definitely prefer Warren at this point. Yeah, that's kind of it here. This is murky. Every time I don't know why Javonte Williams triggers me so much. I feel like I've been fighting this battle for years. I'm like, this guy sucks, and we just have to let it happen. So yeah, that's all with this year.
He had the gruesome knee injury, man.
It was bad, but everyone's like, it's hard to come back from that, man. Not everyone's Nick Chubb. Not everyone's Nick Chubb.
I don't think Javonte's ever going to capture what he originally had. He's trending towards being a backup running back in the NFL.
He's trending towards a new team next year. Yeah.
It's a backup
for sure. For sure.
He might be a tier 5 guy next year. We'll see. Yeah. Okay, so we got We got the rest of the running backs here, tier 5, running backs 36 through 44. Travis Etienne, Roschon Johnson, Tank Bigsby, Isaiah Pacheco, Cam Akers, Tyler Rozier, Devin Singletary, Jerome Ford, Zach Charbonnet. A lot of backups here. The backfield I'm very curious to see is the Jacksonville backfield, Travis Etienne versus Tank Bigsby. That's Bigsby is out there on the wire in leagues.
Yeah, we haven't seen them like both healthy like more than 2 or 3 games this year. Like it's kind of been like a revolving door of one of them being
what's
hurt.
the mix?
I have no idea what we're gonna get this week out of the bye. But I'd probably prefer Bigsby.
I would too.
But you probably drafted ETN in the 3rd round, so I'd
Worst
be inclined
pick
to
in
start
fantasy.
him. I don't fucking know. You got to start one of them. If you own them on your team, you probably got to play one of them. But I don't know, man. Tough matchup against Houston. But hell, man, Tony Pollard just kind of
Tank tore him up earlier in the year. I think he had 8 carries for 100 yards. So
yeah, so
Tank's the play, right?
I prefer Tank here. Yeah,
they're gonna play Trevor. It sounds like though.
No, that's stupid. But
Trevor practice. So
trying to avoid the first overall pick, I guess. Good luck with this tier.
Bigsby, but ETN's gonna get more targets, so that's why I have him higher. But if I had to pick a running back that wins,
Bigsby.
I mean, Bigsby's been better,
way better. And then
if you are
Pacheco's a huge
needy, go pick up Bigsby and just
for sure.
Pick him up. I picked him up in a league, stashed him. Yeah, he's out there in a lot of leagues, dude.
He was winning people games. Like I've won games with him this year. I'm in the middle part of the season. Sorry.
Pacheco, what do you think? You can't play him this week.
Wild card. No, you can't play him. But if he scored 10, 12 points, I wouldn't be surprised. I think there's a good chance he scores.
I don't think he's going to look good.
I have no idea. He's kind of a freak. He's a Tasmanian devil, but it's hard for me to believe that he is going to look good. We've done it with Pollard. We've done it with Dell. It's
Mark Andrews.
It's a fucked up injury. Yeah. We're probably not getting real production from him until next year.
You're watching CMC look like shit.
He's
coming back from injury is no joke, man.
Nope, especially at running back when you're, consistently making explosive plays.
Outside of this, Devin Singletary is a name to keep in mind because of Tyrone Tracy's fumbling issues. Outside of that, all these guys are backups. So don't start any of these guys unless it's maybe like Roschon, but even then, it's going to be game script dependent. But that's it, man. 44 running backs. Amir Abdullah and Jeremy McNichols. Come on down. You made it into the rankings. That's where we're at in the season. Aiden, thank you for jumping on and talking ball. Thank you everybody else for tuning in. Stay tuned for wide receivers. That will be in the feed as well. And enjoy your Thanksgiving. Thank you for being a part of the Mean Team. We're grateful for all of you for rocking with us in the great year of 2024. All right, Aiden, man. See everybody. Until next time.